So my don't look past the things that your mother says is like valuable because your mother can say really deep things that you're more so. I appreciate that your parents love you. They you're born out of love is what you're born out of. What the different circumstances that brought you to this life, you are from constituted and returning to love. To my taste is what a human being, a human life, and life itself is. Life comes from love, abides in love, and returns to love, from which it comes, from which it shall abide, to which it shall return. But a lot of the actual the cause, the effect, the cause and effect, the trajectory of your parents' existence, up to including the things that they say around you, whatsoever they mean to by what they say and do and where they go, it somehow it amounts to your best interest, because that's what had happened for you to get here. The different things that they did well and that they messed up, and that their opportunities and their mistakes, it amounted to you being here. That actually speaks to a deeper cause and effect relationship between what you appreciate yourself as and what you appreciate your parents as, is that you are connected in cause and effect. Some people would say spiritual, but you could simply say, but it's actually a little bit beyond what you appreciate as your breath, because your breath is more so what's spiritual according to Tashreeq Bey. But you're getting finer, be more profound than that when you speak in terms of causation, is that you have a causal relationship to your parents, and you can't exactly entirely you can't dispense with that as simply as you would like to. You may transcend it and work through it, but you can't dispense with it. That's or you can't run from it and arbitrarily, without doing violence to yourself or them, and costing yourself or them opportunities at happiness if you do so violently without putting in the work. There's a lot of content that proliferates about the cycles of families and so forth, and that's true, but it's broader than the family. It's in the family and outside of the family, as broad as the universe and as fine as the family, and back and forth like that. And so you can run from a family and the dynamics and the cycles, but as you run. So say you run to the next town over, the next state over. As you approach another town, you're going to come into the cycles of that town, the orbit of that town, the goings on of that town, which are also cyclical as the place where you're coming from. However, they're at a different rate. Some of what you can live in one neighborhood your whole life, and then you want to move over to the suburbs, or you want to have an experience that you don't normally have. But it's harder than hell it's a lot harder than hell to do that, to move somewhere, go somewhere, do something different than you have been. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult. Some of the reason is because what has you where you are, as you are where you are for the duration that you've been where you are, is actually the cycles that you are constituted by and participate in, and have that you have actually informed some of these cycles that you're about. So you can't simply just the location is time and distance is not significant in absolute terms, which even the word absolute is redundant, is that it actually conveys a scope of limitation as though it were settled. So it's absolutely absolute, but actually it's actually redundant even to reach for that word. It may be better to reach for nothing when you're speaking like that. But what's actually more significant than distance, if things actually are completely unified and diverse at once, and at not, and at twice, and at once, and at not, and at twice, is that the rate of the intentions that you have affect the rate of your behavior and your decisions, and your behavior around your decisions, and your decisions around your behavior, your goings on, your schedule, your pattern, your pace, your cadence, your habit, like that. That amounts to where you find yourself in time and space at a given point in time and space, as that's relatively appreciated. So to move to a different neighborhood, or a different profession, or a different relationship and whatnot, it actually may be impossible if you are doing so arbitrarily for the sake of it, because you want to now as you want to, without actually changing your intention and your decisions. That would, but specifically the habits, obviously. I don't mean to sound arrogant when I say obviously like that, because it's not obvious to everyone necessarily, but it would be pretty stand to reason that your habits would be significant in that, but your intentions actually the best way to maybe change the foundation might just be where your intentions are at, where you're coming with something. So you've been trying something this long, this how to go this place, this long, this where, and it didn't work. What is your intention to do something? What is your intention at this moment about the different responsibilities that you have, the passions and interests are also part of your responsibilities, because you need to engage your passions and interests to be healthy, viable, but also dynamic and evolving and changing and learning, so that potentially when your more regular immediate responsibilities are stifled or frustrated or limited or deprived, what you have been working towards your interests and passions give you strength, fortitude, perseverance, interest, vigor, force, but also some skill and capacity and competence, as you will be encountering different things that you have not met yet. But you will need some different skills that you don't have, because how you've done one thing is not how you may do the next thing, because there will be a new degree of challenge and nuance in your future obstacles, no less than an hour, day away, minute, whatever, what have you. And you will need to be developing, but you will need to be developing well and strong, and you are best suited for what actually interests you and speak to you. It would be the best thing to develop to my taste, and thereby you will have something to meet and answer a situation as you may not have anticipated. So, you know, I'm making this video from a motorcycle, and the motorcycle is helping me to surmount and become viable and stay productive when I had a deal that went straight to hell. I think that the deal had belonged in hell and came from hell, so it stays in hell. It's okay, it's good. You guys have this thing, a bat out of hell, and you couldn't get it working to me, so you keep your bat and you stay in hell with the bat. You can stay in hell with the bat. I'm not mad about the bat in hell. I don't want to go to hell, and I don't want a bat that's a part of hell and will only stay in hell. But I actually got a cooler bat that actually does fly, and so I already came through hell with the first bat, but now I got one to get me over the high water. But part of me functioning so I was doing something with it, and they're like, how the fuck is that guy? How the fuck is that guy on that thing doing that line of work? How the fuck is that? Somebody was like talking to someone, because people always take shots at me anywhere I go. So some patrons of a restaurant were saying, I could hear them saying that across the street. What they don't know is my actual background and what I do for work and have done for work and have done well for work, and being appreciated as doing it well for work by different high-ranking superiors and leaders in the community, up to like school boards, which are actually politicians. If you think about it, that would actually amount to different. That would help me have the footing to sustain something that you can appreciate looking at me on the surface. And I'm not saying that I got it all like that all the time, but just that what I was working on, I was following my passion for serving a community and students, no less. And I actually didn't get some of the participation that I needed from the oversight, the students themselves, the family, and then some of my own family, that I just didn't have the living accommodation and independence and say so over my own goings on, such as being able to turn lights off when I need to go to bed comfortably. That would make that viable. But I actually I put up a fight for that over a few years, and it amounted to a track record that helped me surmount a future. I had already left that profession for the time being when the deal failed that I did. But because of the background that I had before I had left the profession, it caught up to me. So like what you do catches up with you. If you're doing above board things that are in the spirit of life and service, it will catch up to you in a way, not an over favorable way, not a lavish way, but a viable way, potentially. That will be the silver lining that you need. So actually you gave yourself the silver lining that you need, and you actually gave yourself the means of escape. I was saying in another video that there are actually a means of escape. So sometimes when say you're like listening to something, right? You're watching a movie, and this is about to be a mean-spirited, wicked, dark movie. You can appreciate that. This is not just a dark movie, but this is not a strong influence, because actually the things that we view, they're gonna play out into our actual experience, because we're gonna be influenced by that, and we're gonna say and do and think things that are gonna have us in different places as a function of that influence. But you're watching some hella crazy dark movie, and then all of a sudden there's a beautiful moment in that. That happened for me. I was watching a horror movie. I usually don't watch horror movies. I was watching a horror movie in like maybe like 10 or 15 years ago that I had no business, and I kind of felt iffy about watching it. And there was this film. It's getting ready to be a hella dark, wicked, violent film. But as it starts, they're like in a swimming pool, and there's like actually a moment of beauty. Like they're showing these people having a beautiful experience before this. It's a contrast how wicked of an experience they're going into. But it was something of so much beauty that I could have appreciated there and turned it off. Or you're watching something just not a great influence, and you see like a reference to like a beautiful love song or something that has nothing to do with what you're doing. That might actually be your window of escape. That's your choice to stop and do something different. But our actual windows and warnings are actually of our own doing when we're doing the right things, is what I want to say.